I recently felt inspiration flow through me for no reason and decided I had to tell the good word about O.C.E.A.N, the psychological profile developed by Canadian psychologist Jordan B. Peterson. O.C.E.A.N is an acronym that stands for Openness, Conscientiousness, Extraversion, Agreeableness, and Neuroticism. These 5 traits are the only things that define a person. They were created 3 billion years ago as Jordan Peterson himself crawled out of the ocean and laid the eggs of what would one day become humanity. I'm going to be diving deep into these 5 terms and explaining what each of them mean. Openness, as Jordan Peterson has explained in ancient Sumerian writing, is quite simply how open a person is to new experiences. The opposite of openness is closeness, and the two exist on a linear spectrum like this. Open people are more likely to have more sexual partners, be more creative, and do drugs. I myself am open, and as a result, I've done drugs, and I'll never forget the first time I tripped. Jordan Peterson appeared to me. He appeared to me just out of nowhere, and he stared. He stared at me, and he said something slow. "Bucko," he said. Bucko. Open people are more likely to get distracted. They're more likely to view events as abstractions of those events and as ideas rather than concrete events themselves. Closed people tend to do better working within confines, so they would probably enjoy the stability of a 9-to-5 or a long-term monogamous relationship. It's funny, I actually used to be a lot more open, but ever since I accepted Jordan Peterson as my Lord and Savior, I've become a little more closed. Overly open people just don't know what to believe, and overly closed people believe what they believe so strongly that nobody can convince them otherwise. Conscientiousness is your desire to obtain status in society. Highly conscientious people aim to climb to the top of corporate ladders, make as much money as possible, become famous, or just get everybody to admire and respect them. Low conscientious people aren't going to die of a stress-induced heart attack at the age of 35, as Jordan Peterson has sadly predicted my future will be. I myself am a fairly conscientious person. I actually used to be less conscientious before, but ever since my god, Jordan Peterson, told me that if I didn't achieve my biblical destiny, I was going to be devoured by postmodern neo-Marxist chaos dragons, so gotta succeed. To learn about extraversion, I actually astral projected to the Jordan Peterson realm, where his essence had consumed an entire upper dimension. Communicating to me through the air that I breathed, he explained to me that if meeting people gives you energy, then you tend to be more of an extrovert, but if interacting with people drains your energy, then you're probably more of an introvert, and if you're a mix, then you're an ambivert. Extroverts are more likely to have many friends that they're not very closely connected to, exhibiting extraversion, while introverts are more likely to be extra virgin, but it's okay. Jordan Peterson says I'll get some in the afterlife. I actually used to be more of an extrovert, like I would go to parties and I'd meet a bunch of different people, but ever since my visit to the Jordan Peterson realm, I've stopped wanting to leave the house. I've stopped eating, I've stopped sleeping, I've stopped being able to trust. Agreeableness, as Jordan Peterson in lobster form explained to me in a dream one night, is one's propensity to agree with others. On the surface, that sounds like a good thing, but people who are too agreeable risk losing their identity to whoever they're talking to at the time, and getting taken advantage of by people that ask them for things. For example, when Jordan Peterson appeared to me in lobster form, he told me he wanted me to make this video. He wanted me to make all these points and tell everybody about them, but I didn't want to. But I did it anyway, because I'm overly agreeable, and also because I was worried that he would decapitate me with his monstrous lobster claws. Neuroticism. 6-headed snake deity Jordan Peterson actually told me that more conscientious people are more likely to be less neurotic, at least when they're doing that which achieves goals for them. I myself was not neurotic at all, until I saw Jordan Peterson's true form. Some people say that if you think that the Myers-Briggs personality test is bullshit, then you have no reason to think that the O.C.E.A.N test is valid just because Jordan Peterson mentions it a couple times. They argue that personality tests can provide helpful labels for people taking the tests, but that these tests should be used to describe traits of a person, not prescribe how a person should act. They say that people define themselves as open or conscientious or extroverted or agreeable or neurotic and then act in the way that they describe themselves as because they want to uphold their identity. And that's dangerous because we should let people be however they are and not try to control them, Jordan. However, Jordan Peterson, who at this point had become one with the universe and thus melded with my very mind, told me that these people were wrong. And they are wrong. They are. I was gonna disagree, but I can't. I'm just too agreeable. And now I've been reduced to nothing but a combination of personality sliders. I'm no longer a person. Instead, I'm simply the embodiment of an archetype. The archetype of the god Jordan Peterson, who will one day rise from the ocean and lay waste to mankind, babbling words that no one can understand. I need to clean my room.